Hey everyone, it's me, Patched and Bogad, and I'm here today to speak to you on this Saturday to really share with you this information. Of course, a new entry in my vlog. I got my Satanic merc, and here's one. This is my t-shirt where it says Satan loves you with the Nazarene, Jesus, with the goat here, and that's what I received in the mail today, along with another shirt that I want to share with you, which is this one right here. I got 666 problems, but God ain't one. Alright, I hope you look at it right there. It's a really nice merch that I got from the mail, and like I promised, I said that I'll share this with you guys so that keep you guys updated in my day-to-day life and what's going on in my household and my satanic life. Well, because it's a vlog, I'm going to share with you something else that came by surprise. Not just this beautiful merch that I have from, I think it's called T Public. Don't quote me, it's a particular website that I've gotten this merch from. It's really cool. The second thing that I wanted to talk about was the strange and yet frequent coincidences. And what I mean by that is, don't worry, this is my happy juice. You know, it's my Jesus juice, so to speak. Keeps me happy, keeps me going, doing what the hell I'm doing right now. Keeps my spirit up. In other words, it's good liquor. I like it a lot. But besides all this good stuff, what else could we talk about? Oh yeah, I said about the strange and frequent synchronicities going on in my life. Like, for example, yesterday night, what ended up happening was that my smoke alarm went off, and I mean, it was just blasting. It's a revenue smoke alarm. What I mean by revenue, I got this like about maybe 2 weeks ago, and it started going off. So I woke up out of my sleep to go find out what is going on, and there's no fire. It wasn't outside of my house, and obviously and thankfully not in my house. So I'm like, well, it can't be faulty because it's new, or perhaps it was something wrong with it before I purchased it, and that could be a possibility. Don't mind me, I like to be pragmatic before I jump to the supernatural, but it kind of freaked me out, you know. And then I was thinking to myself, what was I dreaming about? Perhaps I given off some sort of frequency based off of what I was dreaming. And I believe with honesty, my dream was really about how Satan doesn't really lie to us, you know, as a satanic family. Or even if he does, it's not a malicious lie, but it's definitely one of those type of, I'm going to hold back the truth, I'm going to give you a half-truth because you need to learn something about it. But that wouldn't give off any negative frequencies, unless how I feel about the subject makes me feel really angry or happy, I guess. But still, it's not enough for me to say that it was my energy that set off the smoke alarm. And again, don't mind me, I'm deducing it because that's not the only thing that really went on in my life. And mind you, that was just yesterday. But of course, to lay that to rest, I thought to myself that it must have been, if I don't think that it was Satan, it had to been like perhaps a demonic, only because that it came off very mischievous. What I mean by that, and I'm gonna get to the other 2 points to prove this, but this is one point. I remember when I came into the left-hand path for the first time, you obviously have to deduce the supernatural, and so that you can see if it really was a supernatural or not. Like, for example, you're probably one of those like myself when you hear 3 knocks on the wall. You know, you probably want to do the same 3 knocks back and see if they'll do it, or the supernatural or the entity or whatever would do the same right back to you. And that shit happened, and that proved to me every step of the way that it wasn't in my head and I'm making it up. You know, stuff like that. And it kind of reminded me of the smoke alarm, because when it went off, it's interesting that this week was very hectic. And it's hectic because as I was trying to prepare what I was going to bring out as far as information is concerned with this video, I was really thinking about how could I really lay to rest a lot of people's thoughts about the demonic being prophetic liars, or liars that would just be, you know, just, how can I put this? These individuals, so we know they're not liars based off the fact that they hold back information just to teach you, not to maliciously hurt you. But they can be very well mischievous. And mischievous pretty much means that it's not exactly bad. It's a much lighter version of what bad is considered. And it's playfully done. And I've seen that through the many years that I've been with Satan. Like, for example, and this is my other example that I have to tell you. I woke up this morning around 8. It's like 1:30 p.m. right now. But around 8 a.m., I woke up to get something to eat for breakfast. And as I was listening to my music on my phone, the music kept on fucking up. Like about twice. And it doesn't actually do that, because again, this is another device like the smoke alarm that is, well, relatively new. It's not even a year old. It's like maybe what, a month old, 2 months old? For it to have all this kind of like defects, that's kind of like awkward. But then at the same time, it's not a cheap phone neither. And mind you, just like I said with the smoke alarm, you have to deduce, right? So here I am trying to deduce what's going on. And mind you, I turned on the phone today and I kept on listening to the same song, seeing if it's going to fuck up the same way that it did this morning. And of course it didn't. So I thought, like, okay, it's a strange coincidence. Perhaps it's demonic, and perhaps it's not. But then I'm saying to myself, this it's getting too awkward for it to be written off as just, well, something faulty or something that's wrong with the equipment. So I'm saying maybe it is something that is demonic, and that's something that I want to leave open, because it was mischievous and playful on the demonic part, if it is, because I love listening to my music. And even when you listen and you watch my videos, I always have that nice rock, that good metal music in the background, because I love my music. So for them to cut it off, which they did, as I was going to get something to eat more than one time, that counts as being very mischievous to me, just like with the smoke alarm. Oh, and by the way, when I woke up, not this morning, but around this time, around like 1:30 p.m., which would, well, let me see here, not 1:30, but actually like around 1:10, I went over to the smoke alarm to check to see if there's something faulty about it. Nothing wrong with the batteries, nothing wrong with the smoke alarm itself. So therefore, again, I can't treat it as something demonic, and that's going on in my house. Now, I find that to be interesting because I always find my body to be a kingdom of demons. Now, you probably hear me say a lot the word demon. But you know what? I done some research on my off time, and I started to realize that a lot of the demons that we call demons are obviously demonized, and they're really deities. Like when you think of Baal, man, that guy had so much worshippers in ancient times, it wasn't even funny. Astaroth too. They've only been demonized by Yahweh. To only figure out by my research, Yahweh himself was a lesser god in the Canaanite hierarchy. So for Yahweh to be the national god of America and the Middle East, which they make Yahweh and other, I guess I could use the word an alias, what Allah is what they call him. So it's like, when I think about that on my own personal time doing research about these so-called demons being demonized by Yahweh, you know, and him being the one true God, that's complete bullshit. Because if you look at Canaanite theology and see that Yahweh was amongst them, and he was just a lesser god. He's seen as a smelter of copper, or even a god of the storm and volcanic eruptions. It's like the Israelites just chose him to be their national god, and then slowly become something more than what he's not. So in other words, you probably see today that Yahweh is seen as a supreme god, which is false by itself, because the main god of Canaan, or the Canaanites, was El. That's E-L. And being that is fact, and is not lore, but of course it's lore based off the atheist or the skeptic. But for someone like myself who is a spiritual individual, I have to tell you that I was very right to mandate for myself to leave Christianity for the very notion that Christianity, which is the offshoot of Judaism, basically just follow that tradition that Yahweh is supreme being. But how is that the case? That if the Jews combine Yahweh and El and made Yahweh the supreme being. So in other words, if El is the supreme being, which he is by the Canaanite theology and what the Jews had borrowed, then how does that, you get what I'm trying to say? It doesn't make much sense. It makes me feel as if that, as I look at that information and I see all the stained glasses of Yahweh or Jesus or whatever have you, to me it's just a front. It just really backs up my claim even more on why I'm on a left-hand path, just because that these deities have been demonized. They've been looked down upon for millennia, and that's kind of disrespectful. In fact, not kind of, it is disrespectful, because in ancient times, these deities were revered very, very highly. Hell, when I look at Baal right now, and I see individuals that talk about him, you know, just casually, I'm like, that's kind of like fucked up, because this guy, this deity, this beautiful deity deserves so much more. The same as Astaroth. It's just so amazing. And upon my research, seeing how Yahweh in the first temple of Judaism, they really did believe in, they were all polytheists. Not only did they see Yahweh as a god to them, but they were polytheists because they believed in other gods too, not just El. So in other words, they believed in all these gods alongside Yahweh, so there wasn't always a monotheist culture. It's only in the second temple, when it was rebuilt, that they became a monotheist culture. In fact, some scholars feel that when they were let go from the Babylonian Empire, when they captured them, that's when they really became a monotheist religion. I mean, there's so much information that's out there. Like, for example, one source would say that for them to change from polytheist belief system to a monotheist belief system, one source helped me to appreciate that it's very interesting that if you want to think about the problem of evil, it's so easy to get away with it if you think about it. Because if you believe under the system of being a polytheist, it's easy to say that, let's say Yahweh is the main deity, right? And you could blame everything on some other lesser deity and say, oh, he's the god of mischief. He's the one who causes volcanic eruptions that kill individuals, or tornadoes or earthquakes. You get my point? It's so easy to say that's where evil comes from, but it's a lot more difficult to say that, let's say under monotheist belief system, that this Yahweh is the supreme being. But if he's the supreme being, then where did evil come from? It's more difficult to say that because you have no one else to pin it on. All you have to do is look at Yahweh, and you would think that good and evil does come to him. In fact, or should I say come from him. In fact, the Bible does say that it does come from him anyway. But yet, how are you going to please a lot of the cohorts, if you will, of that religion? Well, remember, if they all are monotheists at that current time, they have to come up with something. How are you going to explain the problem of evil? Well, that's when they really start to think seriously about demonizing other deities and saying that they're demonic and they're evil, and this is where evil comes from. And I thought that source makes a lot of sense. And if you follow that line of logic, I can see where that comes from. But a lot of the other sources, I can't think off the top of my head. Perhaps I should make another video to explain it thoroughly. But in this vlog, I'm not really trying to go very deep here. But it's a vlog. It's something that I've discovered, you know, in my day-to-day, you know, and I thought it was very interesting. I thought I should share it with you guys. So yeah, it does seem as if I should make another video and I could just go a little bit deeper about it, and I could bring up more information about the other sources so that you guys could really benefit from it, because it's pretty wild. And I say it's wild because it's not that I needed to prove that Yahweh was, like, you know, fake or I don't believe in him, but it becomes a lot more apparent when you actually do some research. And mind you also, friends, that I looked at different sources, and different sources say, no, different various stuff, but the common denominator is the fact that Yahweh has never been the supreme being. And again, I repeat, he was just a smelter of metals, or he was associated with storms. He was just a lesser being on the Canaanite theology. And I thought that was really interesting for him to be made a national god by the Israelites. But that's as much as I would like to bring out, because I didn't make a video in a long time, and I didn't want to leave you guys like guessing like what's going on to Patch and Bogad, and you know what happened, when is his next video going to be uploaded, and things of that nature. So I wanted to dish that out there, and not that I was in a hurry to do this, or I didn't put much thought into it. Obviously I did. I'm rocking this really good t-shirt. I have another one here waiting for me to wear some other day, and I just wanted to touch bases with you guys to see if everything is okay with you guys. And with that said, please just leave a comment down below, subscribe if you like this information, and press that bell icon, because I do give my videos frequently as I am able. I love you all, and I'll check you guys back very soon. Have a good one. Bye.